Hey everybody, we are live it looks like, so welcome in. And for those of you who are returning to either my live stream or one of the replays, welcome back. Today's a somber day, but I felt yesterday that this message was important to bring up and discuss. Matter of fact, I woke up yesterday with it on my heart, and as we all know, everybody got put in the Facebook timeout yesterday. So the message has been delayed. It will not be denied. I chose to go live with this instead of do it on video in case there was anybody who wanted to provide any feedback or share any of their experiences. As many of you know, this is October, the month for domestic violence awareness. We are doing a series called 31 Days of Prevention. And that's the time for us to come together, share information, inspiration, and motivation to increase awareness and to prevent future and ongoing domestic violence. For those of you who may not be familiar with me or with the work that I've been doing for nearly the past decade as it relates to domestic violence awareness and prevention, my name is Marci Batiste. I am the executive director and founder of 9 Seconds. We are a progressive nonprofit organization with a heart-centered mission and a non-traditional approach to domestic violence prevention. Every 9 seconds, a woman is abused or assaulted in this country, and that's simply not okay. It's absolutely not okay. If you are someone who follows me, you know that I shared a post today that earlier this morning here in my home city of Phoenix, a woman and her infant child were murdered by the child's father, her ex-boyfriend, ex-husband. So the message could not be certainly any more timely. And sometimes, sometimes you think that you've been derailed or denied or delayed for, what seemed like it was Facebook's timeout yesterday, but then I catch this on the news this morning. And so the message is, if it was timely yesterday, it's certainly even more so today, because another sister lost her life to domestic violence, and it didn't have to happen. And so the work that we do at 9 Seconds, partnering with businesses, schools, college campuses across the state, bringing workshops, keynote addresses, providing life skills classes, making sure that women are equipped with the resources and the tools that they need to ensure and secure their health, safety, and success. Obviously, the message, the information came too late for this young lady this morning. And so, like I said at the very beginning of my message, I really woke up with this on my heart yesterday from the standpoint of, I woke up and I thought, you know what? As transparent as I've always been about my story, there are certain aspects of it that I just kind of lumped together because it was an abusive relationship. But today, I really wanted to talk, and actually I wanted to have the conversation yesterday. I really feel somebody needs to hear this message. So if you're on here, share this video. If you catch it on the replay, share it out. We're going to talk about calling a thing, and why that's important, and how when you refuse to call a thing or choose to minimize certain behaviors or think that or categorize them as an isolated incident, even though you know deep down in your spirit that it's not an isolated incident, you run the risk of ending up dead. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I ran that risk. And so the story, the part of my story that I'm going to share with y'all today, and forgive me if I run long-winded because I'm not really putting a time clock on this message today because I feel like it's too important to rush. So there were a number of points along the way. As many of you know, April 17, 2012, I was domestically assaulted in a physical manner by my, at the time, boyfriend, man who I thought loved me and who I thought that I was in love with. I came later to figure out and to realize that much of what we had was not love at all. It was power and control. It was me trying to be what I thought he wanted me to be instead of me choosing to be just myself, which if that wasn't good enough, then I should have been strong enough. I wish I had been strong enough to just be that and walk away. But hindsight's 20/20, and that's a large part of the reason why I do what I do, is because in the moment of that domestic assault, he kicked down my door, held me hostage, beat me for several hours, threatened to kill me on numerous occasions. And in fact, his last words the very last time that I saw him was, if the police come to my house or I end up going to jail, I will come back and I will kill you. That sound like love? Nah, it's not. It's not. And when you're in the throes of an abusive relationship, it's hard to admit to yourself that the person doesn't necessarily love you. And it's not even that they're not intending to love you. Some people love you at the maximum of their capacity, and their capacity is not love at all. And that's unfortunate, but that goes back to the generational systems, how they were brought up and things like that. Long story short, I'm certain in hindsight, looking back, I was not the first woman that he put hands on. I would hope that nobody got worse than what I got, because what I got was pretty bad. But in the scheme of life or death, I lived to tell another day. But in that moment, I share that part to say that in that moment, I remember a lot of things, but one thing in particular I remember was me literally praying to God that if he got me out of that situation and got me out of that house and allowed me to live, that I would make good use of the time that I was given back. And so for me, in that moment, when I got out of that house and I started to work on my own healing, in the midst of my healing journey, I realized that for me, my survival became a responsibility for me to reach out and help someone else. So I speak up, I reach out, I teach, and I try and do my very best to inspire and inform other individuals who may be going through the same thing. I also try and educate people who may know or suspect somebody else that's going through abuse, to give you some tools and some resources and things that you can do to help out, besides just simply saying, oh, you need to get out, you can come stay with me, because I'll do a whole other video on safety planning and escape and things like that, but that's not necessarily the answer either. So, and today's incident, she was out of the relationship, but they shared a child, and she still ended up him coming into her house and riddling her home with bullets and killing her and her infant daughter. Could that have been prevented? Yeah. In most cases, it can be. I don't know the details. All I know is the short clip, and you can go back on my timeline and look at the video from the Phoenix PD this morning. I know what you know as far as the situation goes. I haven't had much time to dive into it further, but I do firmly believe that with given the right tools and given the right resources and given the right opportunities, we can make better choices. We can call a thing a thing. So, as I said, kind of leading up to this live stream, I'm going to share with y'all a portion of my story where that I've never shared in depth before. So what I've said in the past is that there were incidents leading up to that final day in April of 2012, but I've never went into detail on any of those incidents. So one in particular, which is the incident that happened, it happened in November of 2011. And the final episode happened in April of 2012. So it's at about 6 months. I had a 6-month head start on preventing my assault. And I'm not suggesting that we take ownership or that we take responsibility for someone else's choices. He chose to kick down my door. He chose to assault me. There's nothing that I did or didn't do or could have done better that would have prevented him from making another choice. But I could have, if I had chosen to, if I had the courage to call a thing, extricated myself from the relationship before it got to that point. And so back in November of the year of 2011, we had been kind of going through some issues, sort of on the verge of a breakup. Had broke up, gotten back together, broken up, gotten back together a couple of times. And this particular time we were trying to reconcile the relationship, which even there, let me stop right there. Let me put a pin right there. If I had called a thing in the midst of one of the breakups, April 17th, 2012 never would have happened. That day in November, that night in November 2011 would not have happened. But I continued to go back, and as I shared in previous videos this week, you know, all times aren't bad times. And so sometimes you make a call and you find out later that it's the wrong call. And so what I'm imploring you to do in this video is to take the opportunity, when you have the opportunity, to call a thing and don't second guess yourself. Call the thing a thing and live to tell the story that I'm about to tell. So in November of 2011, like I said, we've gotten back together and we had went out for a night on the town. And the club that we went to had an upstairs and a downstairs. If you live here in Phoenix, you can probably guess which one I'm talking about, but it shall remain nameless. It's no longer open, so it's irrelevant. But it has an upstairs and a downstairs. There's a bar up and a bar down. There was, the night that this happened, a live band downstairs and a DJ in the upstairs. And this is relevant because the upstairs was virtually deserted. It was me, him, and the DJ. And one bartender who was kind of running back and forth, wasn't really staying upstairs. So it was an isolated area of the bar. We were upstairs. We were, you know, having some cocktails, some adult beverages. We're dancing. And in the middle of dancing on the dance floor, he grabbed my dress and pulled it to the side and started asking me questions about the lingerie that I had on. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I wear this under my dresses all the time. This isn't new. This isn't anything that's out of the ordinary or unusual. And so he starts insisting that I had worn my lingerie for someone else that I was going to hypothetically meet up with the end of that night. We're trying to reconcile. I had no intentions in my mind. We're trying to reconcile. Like, I would think I'm going home with you or you're coming home with me. Like, that would not. But anyway, so I was like, what are you talking about? We kind of get into a verbal altercation, discussion, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, this is pointless. We need to go. I walk back over to the table where my purse is, and I'm like, come on, let's go. Time to go. Night's over. Fun's over. This isn't fun for me anymore. Let's go. He comes over, and I think that he's going to agree to leave, and instead, there was a ledge that kind of, so even the upstairs was separated in two different levels, and there was a ledge or a wall, a half wall, kind of went between the two, and I had my bar stool, perched up against the ledge, but it was, instead of the back of the stool being against the wall, it was to the side. So my back was physically against the wall. Instead of us leaving, he comes over and he continues, or attempts to continue, the argument. I'm refusing to argue at this point. This is stupid. Come on, let's go. I grab my purse and I make a move to walk out. He grabs my dress again, kind of pulls it, nearly rips it, and then grabs me by my throat and shoves me back up against the wall. He's holding my throat and he's in my face like this, like in my face, yelling, calling me all kind of bitches and whores and whatever other names outside of my name he could think of. I'm still trying to wrangle myself free, and I'm still insistent that we go. And at this point now, he's gotten a hold of my throat with one hand and grabs my hair by the other and has me literally wedged up against the wall. I can't move. A thing is a thing. I should have known right then. A thing is a thing. I'm like, now we're getting loud, and the DJ's kind of looking at us, but he's still sort of playing music, like just watching. Is this going to escalate? Is this going to go somewhere? And finally, I'm like, look, you're going to end up going to jail if we don't go. And so he kind of lets me loose and shoves me sort of towards the stairs. Well, when he shoved me towards the stairs, one of my heels flew off. When I went to grab my shoe, he took the shoe. And he's again shoves me again more towards the stairs. At this point, I'm terrified. A thing is a thing. I'm terrified to walk down these stairs in front of him, which is what he's insisting I do. You've already shoved me twice. You've slammed me against the wall a couple of different times. You've nearly ripped my dress. You're holding my shoe and won't give it back to me. And you want me to walk down some stairs in front of you. That part I'm not doing. But he's insisting and he's still shoving and he's pushing. So now at this point, I've latched on to the railing, the banister of the staircase. And I'm holding on to the banister for dear life. And I'm waiting and trying to like hold on to him, figuring that it's less likely that you're going to push me down the stairs if I have a grasp on you and I can yank your ass with me, right? So we make our way down the stairs without too much further incident. I'm just like, I just want to get away from him. I just want to get away from him. We get out, we get down to the bottom of the stairs. Club is packed downstairs. Absolutely packed. He will not give me my shoe. So I'm like, F it. I'm walking out of the club, this packed club that we go to all the time, with one shoe on. So I say, screw it. I take the other shoe off. I don't need it. It's not that serious. Let me get to my car. When I get to my car, he won't let me get in my car. A thing is a thing, y'all. I want you to pick out all these different points in this one incident. In this one incident where a thing is a thing. So I get to my car. He won't let me in my car. I just want to leave at this point. I want to get away from him. So I hit the alarm on my key fob. The alarm starts going off. Sirens going off. He's like, shut that damn thing off. You're going to draw attention. The police are going to come. Yada, yada, yada. I can't turn it off without putting my key in the ignition. So you're going to have to let me get in the car. And in my mind, I'm thinking once I get the car door open, I can get in the car and I can leave. I just want to get away. So I open the door. He allows me to put as I'm trying to sit down in the car, I get the key in the ignition, so the alarm starts, and he snatches me back out of the car. A thing is a thing, y'all. A thing is a thing. So he's holding on to me. He won't let me get in the car. He won't let me around. He's got me pinned up and wedged against my car, in between my car door and the frame of my car now. And I can't remember what he said. I'm sure I said something slick back, which we'll do a video on de-escalation, because I obviously did not do that well in this instance either. Anyway, he reaches across and he smacks me. And I'm like, what the hell? What did you just hit me for? Does it even matter? Or is a thing just a freaking thing, Marci? What else do you need to know? But apparently, since I didn't cry, he decided to smack me again, but much harder. And when I tell you, this brother reached back to Egypt and full force came across the side of my face and smacked me so hard I flew up backwards against the car and both my earrings flew off. Both of them. On the side he hit and the side he didn't hit. That's how hard he hit my face. Is the thing a thing or what? So I'm shocked. So I'm still not crying because I don't even really know what the freak is just happening. Again, there had been little incidents leading up to even this incident where I didn't call a thing. So I shouldn't even have been here. And then the breakups, I shouldn't have been here. 2 or 3 breakups before that. Calling me out my name. I shouldn't have been here on that day. A thing is a thing is a thing, and we have to start calling it. Long story short, I eventually am able to get away from him, and I go home. Once I get away, I'm sobbing, inconsolably sobbing. I'm betrayed, I'm humiliated, I'm scared, I'm all kinds of things. I'm confused, I'm hurt, I'm sad, I'm a lot of things. But I wasn't convicted. I wasn't convicted in the fact that a thing is a thing, and if a man puts his hands on you, you have to create an exit strategy. You have to. Yes, Jennifer, it takes 7 attempts for women to get out of an abusive relationship. That is such a good point. You know, I'm sure. We didn't live together. And so in my mind, it was never really leaving the relationship. We were just breaking up. But I had at least 7 opportunities to call a thing a thing. Hell, I probably had 7 opportunities in that one incident that I just described to you. But let me tell you what happened next. What happened next was he called and he apologized. And not only did he apologize, but he cried. He sobbed. And he apologized. I fell for it. I wanted so much to believe, I wanted so much to believe that he really loved me. I had, Lisa, many of us have no idea until we go through, and that's the part that I'm just about to talk about. He called, he cried, he begged, he pleaded, and I took him back. We reconciled after that. We reconciled. And what I didn't know, to Lisa's point about going through therapy and not realizing that you're a statistic, and Jennifer's comment about it taking 7 times on average, I didn't realize that abuse is a cycle. I didn't realize that what I was in, because see, I had grown up, my generational system was in large part watching my mom be abused. And so physical abuse I recognized as domestic violence, although I never really recognized any of the other forms until I actually started, to Lisa's point, in therapy. Here's the thing, y'all. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I focus our nonprofit on prevention. Because sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like it's too late. And so if I can do something or say something to help someone to keep them from falling for the okie doke, if I can do or say or share something that lets them recognize that a thing is a thing and let them understand the danger of not calling a thing, then, you know, like, I literally feel like when I begged God that day to let me out, and I promised him that I would do good work if he gave me some time back, that this is that good work. And when you get hundreds of thousands of messages from sister survivors from all over the world, not just here in Arizona, not just back home where I live in Iowa, not when I was in Dallas, all over the globe, internationally, getting feedback, and time again, you know what they thank me for? Speaking out, having the courage to say something. And so, you know, with any of my videos, I just have one ask. If you hear something, share something. So if something I said or something I say resonates with you, or you think that it can benefit someone else, just share the video out. You don't have to put any commentary next to it. You just never know who just needs that word. And sometimes I wonder when I look back, and I wonder if somebody had these conversations with me, if I had watched a 31 Days of Prevention series before this happened to me, if it would have altered the outcome. I believe that it would. Because you see, back when I was growing up in domestic violence has been a thing for hundreds of thousands of years. It's not new. But to talk about it's kind of new. I know certainly when I was coming up, it was what happens in this house stays in this house. You didn't call a thing back then. And you damn sure didn't tell anybody that a thing was happening. So yeah, I speak up now. I speak out now. I speak on behalf of those who can't speak. I speak because the sister that died this morning, her voice is forever silenced. We don't get do-overs. There's no second chances. This isn't a video game. It's not a game at all. We don't get multiple opportunities to get it right all the time. I was lucky. I recognize that. Lisa, thank you. Our family was the perfect world. Girl, you said it. You said a word there, honey. You said a word there. That's what I had done. In all of my relationships, I had created the image of the perfect freaking relationship every single time. No matter how dysfunctional it was, no matter how toxic it was, I had the ability to create and to cultivate an image that was so believable that when I was with my narcissist, I was so believable in my creation of this perfect world that when I tried to talk to my personal friends about what I was going through, they told me I was crazy. They told me I was crazy. I had a history of making it all look so good and so pretty. So good, so pretty, so perfect. You know, I had this 6-figure job. I was a bank executive. I had the nice car, the big house, the pool, built-in barbecue. It all looked so good. And so that's one of the things that I realize, that habitual abusers, which I'm certain now, knowing what I know now, my ex was, that habitual abusers prey on women with low self-esteem. They prey on women who are indecisive. They prey on women who have something to offer to make them look good. Child, well, listen, I was paying bills. I was paying stuff for his child. Matter of fact, I was paying his phone bill. I was paying, like, what? and you smacking the hell out of me? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But domestic violence doesn't make sense. And what we have to stop doing as women is allowing ourselves, when we get to that state where we feel embarrassed, or we've done the, as Jennifer says, we've done the actress thing and we've played our part and we've made it all look good. We have to stop being afraid to go back and say, you know what? I was lying. It was all a lie. Now, will they be like some of my people were and be like, girl, you crazy. That man love you. Yeah, they might. But a thing is a thing, y'all. A thing is a thing is a thing is a thing. And had I called my thing a thing any of the times that it happened before November of 2011, if I had called it a thing in November of 2011, April of 2012 never would have happened. And here's the other part, and I think I've told this part before, but I want you to understand what you don't know and the impact of generational systems, which that's one of the things that we talk about at 9 Seconds, and foundationally is the core to our prevention training. Your generational systems affect how you make decisions, right? And so for him, this is what y'all need to understand. So between November of 2011 and the incident in the parking lot, and December of 2011 and when I took him back, and April of 2012 when he physically assaulted me and held me hostage, in between there, in March, either the end of February or the beginning of March of 2012, his first cousin, his best friend, his ace, his boon, his homie, his rider, blood cousin, had took his girlfriend on a vacation. They ended up spending a night in a casino, drinking it up, partying, I would imagine. That night, he stabbed her 28 times and she was 5 months pregnant with his child. It's my ex's first cousin. So, is this a part of a generational system? Absolutely. Is that why much of our prevention efforts surround the generational system? Absolutely. And here's the thing, right, Jennifer? Holy cow. Here's the thing. When we talk about calling a thing, so his first cousin, 3 weeks before he attacked me, his first cousin stabs his girlfriend 28 times in a hotel room, jumps out a window, and tries to escape being caught. When my ex tells me this story and is showing me the newspaper articles that correspond to the story, he is telling it to me almost in first person. So he's saying things like, well, when Nene did this, or when Nene did that, if that was me and you, his exact words, if that was me and you, if I had stabbed you, what the hell? What the hell? If he said, if I had stabbed you and I woke up and I sobered up the next day, the first thing I'd be like was, where is Mars? Bring me Mars. And they'd be like, no, bro, you killed her. And I'd be like, no, I didn't. I love her. Bring me Mars. I wouldn't be able to believe that you were gone. I wouldn't be able to believe that I had killed you. If a thing ain't a thing, ain't a thing. He put himself, not only did he side with his cousin, because he knew, as he's telling me the story, he knew what his cousin did was wrong. But I was disturbed by the fact that he had put as much thought into it as to understand how the hell he would feel if he had killed me. He had thought about it before he ever told me the freaking story. So it's been in your mind. A thing is a thing, y'all. That was a thing is a thing. If I had called it then, that was 3 weeks before it happened. But I stayed with him. I stayed with him. Did I ever think for 1 second that what happened April 17, 2012 was even possible? No. But was I uncomfortable in the conversation we had 3 weeks ago when he's talking about if I had killed you? Hell yeah, I was uncomfortable. Was I uncomfortable when he smacked me across the face in that parking lot? Yes. Was I uncomfortable when he choked me in the club? Yes. Was I uncomfortable that time when he smacked me in the mouth with a sucker and damn near broke my tooth? Yes. Was I... Come on, man. I should have called a thing a long time ago. It should have never gotten to the point that it got to. And so I'm sharing all of this, and I know we're running on time, and like I said, this isn't really about time, but I do need to be mindful that people have other stuff to do. But I'm sharing this not from a space of shade, not from a space of judgment, not from a space of, because I, then you should, nothing like that. All I'm simply saying is that when you have something happen that jars you to your core and makes you gasp, take pause, flip out a little bit, listen to your intuition. My intuition was going off time and time again. But I literally refused to call a thing. I wanted what I wanted. And when I was in therapy, I was telling my therapist about my relationship before that relationship, and how that was with the one who was the narcissist. And he destroyed my self-esteem. He destroyed my confidence. I was never pretty enough, never smart enough, was just never enough of anything in private. But in public, he made it seem like he worshiped the ground I walked on, and that's why everybody thought that I was crazy. So then when I met this guy, there were red flags from the beginning. But he told me I was a freaking amazing. He told me I was so beautiful. He told me I was so smart. He told me that, yeah, Jennifer, nobody's ever going to want you. Exactly. That was my narcissist. You think it's as good as you can get, right? It's not, sis. It's not. I know it doesn't feel like it in the middle of the storm, but there is something better out there for you. And regardless, you do not deserve to live in a storm every single day. But so he tells me, let me get back to that part. So he tells me I'm everything to everything. Like I am the reason the sun rises and sets, basically, to him. And so I was willing to overlook a lot of stuff because he made me feel good. 10 years for me too, Jennifer. Congratulations, sis. He made me feel pretty again. He made me feel smart again. He made me feel loved again. He made me feel valued again, despite the fact that he did all those things. I wanted so much to believe that I was dope, and that I was amazing, and that I was pretty, and that I was all these things that the last one told me I wasn't, that I stayed, made excuses, I minimized. And I shouldn't have. I should have called a thing a thing. And what my therapist said to me, which changed everything for me. And I'm going to share this with you because this might change something for someone else. What she said to me was, and I've used this many times over the last 10 years. What she said to me was, so you sold your soul to feed your ego. Ouch. Damn. That hurt. Made me clutch my pearls a little bit, like, oh, did I? But she was right. I wanted so much to be validated and to feel like I was whatever. But not only for myself, and not so much for myself, because at the time, I thought that I already had good self-esteem. But what I came to realize later is that if I had good self-esteem, the bullshit that I tolerated would have never been tolerated. And so, yeah, I sold my soul to feed my ego. I let somebody in who I knew I should have kept out. And in some ways, he was upfront from the jump. Now, he never said, like, I'm going to smack the shit out of you one day. He never said that. But there were things I knew. But yet, it took being assaulted, having to walk into a courtroom and tell your story, which the courtroom was for my restraining order because I was still too fearful to give the police his name. So I never did. I never pressed charges because his last words to me were, if the police come for me, I will come back and I will kill you. And that was the last thing he said before he drove away after I got out of the house. I didn't have any reason not to believe him. After all, his cousin had just murdered his girlfriend. So, hey, it's in the genes, right? That was the day I called a thing a thing. I was pushed so far outside my comfort zone. I was pushed so far against a wall, literally and figuratively, that I had to call a thing in order to save my life. Because the one thing that I knew for sure, without question, was if I didn't call a thing that time, the next time the police came, they'd be bringing the coroner. And I'd be leaving wherever in a body bag. So I called a thing that day. I ended the relationship forever. More on that later, but I was tempted at one point to go back 3.5 years after the fact. Wow. The day that happened, and see, that's another part I've never told and never really shared and never really focused on, but 3.5 years later, I got an email and it almost convinced me to try again. After all, in my mind, I was better. I was stronger, I was smarter, I was wiser. And when I sat there and thought about it, I was like, the last time you saw this man, he almost killed you. The last thing he said to you when he saw you was, I will come back and I will kill you. If you go, he may kill you. And that was the thing that kept me from going back, which is something that I never really understood until it happened to me. Why women go back. Why we fall for it. like I said on the video the other day, it's because all times aren't bad times. And sometimes when I look back and I think about that relationship and I think about the good times and the happy times and the bomb sex, like, but then I look at the pictures and I realize a thing's a thing. You called it. Move on. Once you've moved on, stay moved on. Avoid all contact. So, I hope that by sharing this part of my story and going into a little bit more details, that I've given some context to what it means to call a thing, and that I've given some context to the concept and the idea of prevention. So even people think about prevention from a standpoint of catching it before it's happened. And sometimes prevention is keeping it from continuing. Sometimes prevention is realizing that you have children who are watching. I watched my mom. My daughters watched me. Nieces, cousins, friends. You never know who's watching. And so prevention sometimes means saving yourself, and sometimes prevention means saving the next one. Survival is a responsibility for me. The day that I called a thing, and then the day that I didn't go back on my word, was the day that I honored the promise that I made to God that day to do good work. Survival is my responsibility. Survival is everyone's responsibility, really. And, you know, one of the things that we do at 9 Seconds, like I said, is to work with not just the survivors, not just the victims per se. And, you know, one of the things, this video could go on for hours because I could talk about this forever, but, you know, moving from, it's in my mind, the only victims are the sisters that, like the one this morning whose life and voice was extinguished forever. Everyone else, whether you're in it, you're out of it, you're getting out, you are a survivor, right? But beyond that, you can take that and go from survivor to champion. And the champion is to call a thing, to get the help, to seek out the resources, reach out to an advocate, reach out to an ally, create your exit strategy, create your success plan, do all of the things that you need to do if it's happening, to stop it, and if it hasn't happened, to prevent it. So I'm trying to read Jennifer your comment. Oh, EMDR. Yeah, I've heard of it, but no, I have not tried it, Jennifer. Yeah, and that, you know, you bring up being sexually abused by your abuser, and sometimes we don't think that, or people don't think that somebody that you're in relation with or in relationship with can sexually assault you. Sister friends, sister survivors, if you say no, no is no. Anything that could persist beyond that no is sexual assault. Call a thing a thing. Call a thing a thing. That's it for my message today, you guys. For those of you, Jennifer, for Lisa, I know you sisters have been hanging in there with me this whole time and contributing. Thank you so much. God bless you both. I know that y'all are strong sisters. You are strong sister survivors. I thank you. I salute you. I appreciate you. God bless you. And again, guys, if you are watching this on the replay, if you are watching this on YouTube, if you're watching it on my website. If you're watching it on 9 Seconds website, Lisa, yes, I need to, a matter of fact, you were on my list to call today and I just didn't get around to it. But I will do that for sure tomorrow. No matter where you're seeing this message, please, please, please share it. Because even if it's not helped you, you never know what someone is going through. You never know what's happening behind the closed doors. I was a 6-figure earning corporate executive, sat in board meetings on a bank's board, and I was in multiple emotional, physical, psychologically abusive relationships. You just don't know. So if you share this video, please understand. You might think that it's for nobody, and you might share it and not get no likes, not get no props for it, and that's okay. And if you're watching this and this is you and something I've said has sparked something in you, reach out to me directly. You can DM me, you can contact me through 9seconds.org, you can contact me through marcibatiste.com, you can connect with me on YouTube, connect with me here on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn. Reach out. I may not always, yes, Lisa, somebody's always watching. I may not have an immediate resource to give you, but I will make sure you get directed to where you need to get directed to get the help that you need if it's something that I personally cannot help you with. So I hope you all have a safe, healthy, and blessed day. And thank you so much for those of you who have tuned in, for watching, for hanging with me, and for contributing to the conversation. That is exactly why I wanted to do this message live and not to do it on a video. So God bless you all and take care. We will be back tomorrow for day 6 of our 31 days of prevention. And I wish you all well. Take care.